Well, what these studies did is they took groups of patients and they split them in half. So some people got a placebo and some got a multivitamin. And then they looked to see if you took the multivitamin, were you less likely to get dementia? The other study said, were you less likely to have a heart attack? And in both studies, they said, no, you weren't. The multivitamin did not help protect you against dementia and did not help to protect you against having a heart attack. Now, well, like every study, these studies are not perfect, but many experts are saying they really, really indicate that perhaps, multivitamins aren't good for these two things.
Well, are multivitamins good for anything?
It's a very tricky question. There are some experts out there who will say, look, if you have a bad diet, wouldn't hurt you to take a multivitamin. It might work sort of as a safety net. But a lot of people will say there really isn't evidence that these multivitamins do anything for you. As a matter of fact, the editorial in this study said most supplements do not prevent chronic disease or death. Their use is not justified, and they should be avoided. So pretty strong language there, Wolf.
So what about individuals, separate vitamins, vitamin D or vitamin C? Should people take those kinds of supplements as opposed to a multivitamin?
There are individual supplements that might be useful. For example, folic acid for a pregnant woman. There's lots of evidence that women really ought to be taking that if they're planning a pregnancy or even if they're just of childbearing age. So there's some individual vitamins that might be good for individual people, for individual purposes, but it's the multivitamin I think that a lot of people have a lot of doubt about.
So the bottom line, Elizabeth, people will say, is it a waste of money to buy those kinds of vitamins?
The folks who wrote this editorial certainly seem to think that it's a waste of money. I would never want to say that definitively, but there certainly is evidence that multivitamins don't really do much for you.
Can they do any harm?
If you take a multivitamin and you're taking other vitamins in addition, then you might end up in a situation where you're getting too much.